Okay, well, here we are, and I'm just going to turn it over to Chris and let him introduce himself and tell you more about what he's going to talk about today.
O-
Chris, it's up to you.
Okay, I am going to minimize the chat box. So, Kara, if you do see a question, let me know because otherwise it's going to be kind of distracting in my way there.
Okay.
Okay, this is Chris Marshall coming to you live from the Indiana State Library in downtown Indianapolis. It is a balmy 63 degrees out and it is rainy and cloudy. We've got Kara and Lisa helping us out or helping me out just in case I hit the computer and it blows up or something unusual like that. And I'm going to talk to you today about the Indiana State Library's digital collections. I came to the state library about 6 years ago to work in the Indiana division and be the digital collections coordinator. When I started, the collection was just kind of slowly growing. And about a year into it, I did a program about the digital collections. And I decided, it's about time to update that. So I did one 5 years ago, and a lot has changed since the last time we did this. So I thought this would be a good time to update, show some of the stuff that we're doing. Go over the website in case you've never seen it or you have never used our website. This will give you a chance to see what we've got in our digital collections. This is not to be confused with Indiana Memory or Hoosier State Chronicles. Those are two separate collections. This is stuff that we curate out of our collections here at the State Library. So this is the Indiana State Library's digital collections. We'll start over here. This is our website, Indiana State Library. So in order to get to our digital collections, we are right here, down here on the main page in the lower right corner of the series of boxes. When you click on that, it takes you to our website. And this is what it is. Encounter the past through Indiana State Library's ever-growing digital collections. And trust me, it is ever-growing, and I am very excited to point out some of the new things that we have. If you've never used our website, we're going to go over that first, and then we'll talk about some of the collections. We'll talk about what you can do with some of the stuff that you might find helping patrons. And then we'll talk about some of the quirky things that happen in here. Believe me, there's a few quirky things that are kind of interesting. We'll talk about some of our future projects, but this is the main page. This is the home page where we've got several options that you can click on up here at the top. We've got the main search box here. We also have an advanced search. Oh, hello. There we go. Oh, it's not staying. Okay. There we go. It wants to not show you the search. So this is our advanced search. We'll take a look at this in a moment. These are the collections that we have that you would be searching through this. This is kind of the, lure you in with some great images, kind of get you to look at different parts of the collection that we might have. These, kind of for the browsers. Who are just kind of like, wow, what is this? What can I find? We've got maps, we've got government documents, we've got photographs, we've got some genealogy, some artwork, etc. Down at the bottom, these are our newest editions, and trust me, these are not all of our newest editions. These are just highlights from things that we have added to the collection. I know that we've added a lot more than just what you see right here, and you can scroll across, and it gives you an idea of some of the things that we're adding, so you can just kind of get an idea of what things we added recently, and it helps kind of spark curiosity. It's like, wow, what is that, or what is that? And you can click on each of these and it'll take you to the item. Then there's some general information down here, the library's homepage about the library, our catalog, collections and services, reproduction services, and unaffiliated researchers. Then there's other online resources, Indiana Memory, Hoosier State Chronicles, Inspire, etc. And then there's always the popular Ask a Librarian and Contact Us, and then of course the social media. So this is the basic landing page that you come to. So let's take a look at each. Let's start up here and take a look at each one of these tabs to give you an idea of what you'll find there. This is a list of our collections. So when I click on this, these are our individual collections that we round robin items into periodically. This has doubled since 5 years ago when I did this presentation. A lot of it has been through me with discussions with my manager, Monique, and Andrea, who's in charge of our state documents, like, what else do we need? What can we add? So we have actually, I think, doubled this from just a few years ago. Charitable organizations, public welfare and reform is one of our newer ones. Education in Indiana, I think we added since that 5-year period. Who's Your Politicians is something that the manuscripts division has put up. A lot of original print materials from local and statewide politicians. So that originally started out as just one guy and his collection, and then they're like, hey, we got a ton of other stuff. So they've expanded that. The Indiana legislative documents, we've got some changes in there I want to point out. Indiana historical print, we've refocused that collection. It used to be kind of a hodgepodge of materials. Now it's really a focus on the counties. It's more of a county history collection. The Indiana State Agency documents, the Poetry Archive is new. The Ku Klux Klan in Indiana is also new. Our map collection is ever growing. This newspaper collection is new. The Northeast Indiana Diversity Library collection. Open Spaces, Historic Places, that's a new collection. Religion in Indiana, Trade Association, Club Publications, all new. Will Hayes, huge collection. A lot of people are researching Mr. Hayes. So these are all new collections. The rest of these were kind of the ones that when I started were there. One of the things you can do is you can click on the collection to learn about it, but you can also just get a brief hint of what is in the collection by clicking on the little I under the name, and it will give you a description of what you'll find in these collections, what's in each one. So this one, for example, is our state agency documents, where we've got a ton of materials from the various state agencies here in Indiana. So we've been adding a bunch of stuff there. For example, here is, some of these, it's being obnoxious. Stop that. Okay, thank you. Some of them are shorter and just kind of gives you a briefer overview. So that's our list of collections to kind of help us organize by collection. We also have by topic, African Americans, architecture and structures, and then it's broken down so you can click on each of these to see what we have. Say on textiles, for example. What you get is basically these are canned searches. So what you'll basically get will be a list of items that have subject headings that will focus on whatever the topic is. So for example, if we click on business and industry, if you'll notice, it's already got some search terms: business, industry, trade, and advertising, which is shortened. Yeah, so that is a way to see what kinds of things we would have on a specific topic. And there's a variety of topics. We really don't add to this collection very much. They're very broad. It's great if you've got kids in a classroom and you want to give them, something to research, Civil War, automobiles, sports, recreation, Native Americans. It's a great way to kind of introduce them into the collection, via a topic, especially if you don't know what collection to look in. The other thing we have up here is a map. This takes a little while for it to load. You can see over here, it's loading up. It's going through because we do put in coordinates for cities. So eventually this will populate. Um, it takes a little while, it takes a moment. So while that's doing its thing, the other thing is this Indiana State Library tab just takes you to our web page, and this gives you contact information. It's almost done. There we go. And what it does is it will populate using the coordinates that we put into the metadata to show what items are where. This is kind of fun. I use this for collections development. I will zoom in, and as you zoom in, isn't that cool? All the little dots just start flying all over. This morning, I was just literally sitting at my desk going back and forth, watching the dots go back and forth. Yeah, it's just kind of fun. But it shows you what is in a specific area. I use this for collections development, trying to decide, what area of the state do we need to fill in. Like, there's a big space here. Maybe I can find some stuff on Greentown or Swayze. And start filling in some of these areas and try to get more stuff into the collection, so we're as diverse as possible as far as going to each county. So and then when you click on this, it will like the blue ones will tell you what's there. That one happens to be a map. This one says there's 2 items. There's a souvenir program from Bourbon, Indiana. And then you can scroll in and, these will populate even further until eventually you get more dots. And you can see it kind of stalls when you get closer in. You just kind of have to move slowly. And it starts breaking down those numbers into individual dots. Because sometimes I will go in and try to find, the exact location of, say, a church or a building or something, so that it's a little bit more specific. You can kind of see then what's there. So 8th grade graduation, something from the KKK, South Bend drill team in Knox, Indiana. So the map can be kind of fun. Plus, I just like watching the dots fly around. But anyway, okay, enough about that. Okay. Rights. This tab is very important. It gives a lot of information about the collection, what kind of content we have. When we're making selections, I don't just do stuff, like I don't do one thing, I'll do a collection of stuff. I like to curate the collection. So recently I just did a grouping of materials from the American Association of University Women. The Indiana branch is a national organization. May Wright Sewell was involved with it here in Indiana, in Indianapolis. And we had some stuff from the early, I think around the 1880s up to the 1940s. So I like to curate and build as opposed to just a few things. I like to curate a collection of materials into a collection. So this will then kind of give you an idea of, what our collections are about, using our collections, how to look at copyright, also linking to our collections, citing the collections, publishing ISL collection items, the application for photographic film or item reproduction form is there, the use fee invoice. And then, of course, if you know something that we don't, you can always contact us, or the patron can contact us, or research, or whoever is using it, and say, hey, I see this item in your collection. I own the copyright to that. And then, we just pray that it doesn't go downhill from there. So anyway, this is kind of the overarching rights statements, how to use the collection as far as, publishing and reusing materials. So, okay. So let's go back to the home page. Okay, let's do some searching. I want to show you some of the quirkiness of our digital collections, and also kind of give you an idea of what kinds of things that you'll find, some of the things that we've added. into the collection. So let's do a search for the state parks, which I've just done a bunch of stuff over the past couple of years to build a state parks collection, and let's see what we get. Okay. Yeah, so we've got over 2,700 items in the collection. One thing I want to tell you right off the top, it is doing keyword searching, so a bunch of this may not be about the state parks. It may be that the word state park showed up in the metadata in the transcript, and it does pick up that kind of stuff. So this is going to be very general, and you can see so far a lot of this stuff is about the state parks. But I suspect if you get down into page, 137, it is probably not necessarily about state parks. For example, there's the Bainbridge Brewster, there's the Newcastle telephone directory. That really doesn't have anything to do with the state parks. It's really keyword searching. So that's how come you will get a huge number like that. So one of the things that you can do, so we'll go back out of this. We might at that point then do the advanced search. One of the things I'll tell you just from knowing is this open spaces, historic places has a lot of the state parks. So what you can do is you can unclick all of those, and then you can click just to search the open spaces, historic places collection. You also might throw in the map collection just in case there's some stuff in there. And now let's try state parks and see what we get. Search. By the way, you can change it, any of the words, exact phrase. You can search in all the various fields. When you look at this list, there's some weird, oh my goodness, why isn't it staying open? There we go. It's being contrary today. A lot of these are metadata fields, and then you get down in here into this weird grouping of stuff. Please don't ask. I have no idea what those are. I was asking a few weeks ago, and they're like, what is all of that? We think it has to do something with our hosted collections. You can add another field if you need to. So anyway, let's just search these two collections and see what we get. Obviously a little more manageable, 485 items. So this is what the layout in Content DM will look like. Our collections set in Content DM, it is a workhorse. It is the Content DM is one of these systems that collections, digital collections sit on. Nobody's really come up to rival them just yet. It's created by OCLC. So this is their layout. So, oh dear. So this is their layout. Anyway, so you can manipulate this a number of ways. Here we have the list version. You can change it to a grid version. You can do it by relevance, title ascending, subject ascending, description ascending, as well as all of the descending. You can set it to a number of items on the page. So if you wanted to see 100, you could set it so that it will show you 100 items. Personally, with a lot of these collections, I like to use this view. The reason I like to use this view more than I like to use this view, this cuts off the title. So you don't always get to see the title. This would be good if it was just visual and you were looking for images. Then you can, see the images a little bit quicker. This way you get the full title. For example, that one just said general information on. So it continues on to say Indiana State Parks, 1954. One of the things that I have done in my metadata at the end of the title of the item, I will oftentimes put a date if there are several. So you can see there's one here from 54, 57, 51. It kind of helps when you put them in title ascending order. It puts them in chronological order. So if you've got somebody looking at, say, the Brown County State Park maps, it will actually put them in this, into order chronologically. If I were looking at that, let's see if there's another one here that maybe is a state park. Yeah, here we go, Brown County State Park. So 1932, 33, 36, 39, 40, 41. I'm telling you, I curate, I go through, I find, and we create a chronological collection. So if somebody is researching Brown County State Park, they want to know about trails, how it's changed over the years, here you go. So yeah, this is an example of what you would get when you search. Let's take a look at one of these items. So this is what it looks like. Up here, you've got the name of the collection. It's in the title of the item. This is our ID, our item ID. So if somebody says, hey, I need a copy of that, we can track it down. Then you've got the image itself. Over here, you've got the different images that are involved with this. This is how many times State Park shows up in the item. You can filter it. It's better when there's like 100 pages or something, then it will show what pages it's on. Here it's on each page. You can download and you can print. Be aware when you download, you're only downloading that one image. You're not downloading the entire item. So if somebody wants all three of those, they have to go down and download each one individually. Same way with print. So if you just want to print this item, it will print out this exactly what you see here. You can close the transcript box, which sometimes goes on for quite some time. So you will literally print this image plus what's here, all of the metadata. Just a little thing to keep in mind. If you want to zoom in and see, you can do this, expand. And this is where you can really focus in. I'm using my wheel on my mouse to scroll in and out, but they do have a positive and a negative to scroll out. You can go, I'm not going to click on home. I'm afraid of where it might take me. And then you can scroll across each of the images. I love this map. This is like a Where's Waldo map. You can scroll right in and, here you see somebody drowning or swimming. Maybe they're drowning, I can't tell. Do not pick the flowers. And obviously somebody is picking the flowers. People don't read signs. We think that they just don't, have read signs recently, but they've done it for a long time. It shows a stagecoach running through Brown County State Park. I don't think I've ever seen. Here's somebody falling off a horse. So you can really zoom in. And get closer into the item and take a look. So yeah, that's where you would. You can click on it over here and it'll bring up each image, but to really see it, you have to use that expand box. That's something new that Content DM recently put in. This is the metadata, the title, the item ID, the description. Then we have our subject headings. The creator, the contributors, etc., the date, the geographic location, what it is, the digital collections, etc. One of the things I want to point out in here, we were talking about this a little bit before before we started, the rights, the copyright, and the use statement, fair use. Versus items and copyright, etc. We follow the rightstatements.org website. If you've not seen that, you might take a look at it. This will we'll open this up in a new link, in a new tab. Hello, where's the tab? The box is in the way. Whoops, hang on. Where's that? I can't see the tab. Where's the tab? There it is. Okay. So yeah, this is the rights statement that they have put out. So we use those quite a bit in our collections. Let me make this back up. I'm having a little technical issue, but we're doing good. So anyway, anything from 1928 or anything before 1928 is out of copyright. If you may have noticed, a lot of things have gone out of copyright, Winnie the Pooh, Steamboat Willie, Disney's Not Happy kind of thing, where a lot of stuff has fallen, out of copyright. I can't remember, something else fell out of copyright recently. I think a bunch of Agatha Christie stuff. Anything, 1928 to the present, it depends on who the publisher is, who's the creator, etc., as to whether it's in copyright or not. It also depends on whether you renew it or not. In the case of state documents, we usually just go with the is not in copyright. Now, some state agencies, we think, do copyright their items, but for the most part, most government documents are out of copyright. They're not something that can be copyrighted. There are some things, that we have done that do kind of freak me out, that I wonder if, I'm ever going to get a phone call saying, hey, we own the copyright. Let me back out of this. Go back. Oops. Okay, hang on. Oh, come on. Goodness. Let's go this way. Okay, so one of the collections that I worry about the most sometimes is this, company employee newsletter, for example. There's some stuff in here that's in copyright. Obviously, this October of 1956. Aerograms, we'll take a look at this one, for example. Aerograms was for the Ellis Ayres department store here in Indianapolis. Ayres was bought out by Macy's. So when you go into these aerograms, technically these are all in copyright. And I suspect Macy's does not realize that they own the copyright. Well, or maybe they do and they don't really care. But if you notice, it does say in copyright. This is where we've said, okay, we're going to give you searchable options. We're going to digitize some of this. We'll put it up. It's here for, just your use. You cannot take it and make a publication and make millions of dollars. If you do that, please call me and tell me how you made those millions of dollars, because I would like to know. But we do put on here that it is copyright, and this right statement does take you to a statement that says this is in copyright. It's educational use permitted. It's this whole idea. When I first started with digital collections, we really did our due diligence on copyright, and there's been a massive switch to where it's now, we're just going to digitize this, put it up. If you own the copyright, you call us. In other words, we're not going to do the work anymore to figure out who owns the copyright. We're going to let them call us. I keep waiting for the day that Macy's or General Motors calls me and says, hey, we own the copyright to that stuff, because we do have some company employee newsletters in here that are from General Motors. This Delco Remy clan is a division of General Motors. Quite frankly, I think currently at this moment, General Motors has other things on their mind, so I don't think they're going to come after me for the Delco Remy clan. If they do, guess what? We'll just take it down. We'll keep the images. If somebody ever calls and says, I need a copy of that, we can be like, hey, we've already got that scanned, and here's the image. Okay. All right, let me go back. I've lost my back button. Okay, let's talk about a few other things. There are some quirky things in our digital collections that you may not have noticed. We are connected with Indiana Memory. Indiana Memory is a collaborative effort. Basically, Indiana Memory is a big website where a lot of institutions have put their collections, and it can be searched across the board. There's also Hoosier State Chronicles, which is our digital collections of newspapers. So in that, newspaper collection, you'll find, materials that aren't necessarily from us. They may be from other institutions. But when you go in to search one of our digital collections, I don't know if you just saw that or not, but it just changed up here from Indiana State. It's originally said Indiana Memory Hosted Collections, Indiana State Library Digital Collections. Sometimes this will say up here in this bar, Indiana Memory Digital Collections. And let's see if I can find an example. Let's take a look at the state and county histories. What happens is when you search our digital collections, it will tell you that you're searching what collections you're searching in. But if you notice over here on this bar where it says collections, you're going to see a lot of things that are not ours. The ones that are checked with a check mark are the ones that are our collections. And so far, there's the one collection that we're looking at. But if you notice, there are a ton of other collections. These are not all our collections. A lot of these are things that we host in our collections. So in other words, we have this hosted collection that come from the LSTA grants, where we'll provide you with an LSTA grant. We will then provide you with equipment to digitize your materials, and then we will host them on our website. You can see, a lot of these are places they may not necessarily be able to host their own collection. They may not have the manpower or the space to do so on their in their collection. So a lot of these, when you go in, you're going to see that in every single one of these collections. You're going to see that very odd. See there, it says, and then it changed to Indiana Digital Collections. But yeah, you're going to see that in every single search that you do. You're going to see that huge long list. That is part of the hosted collections. Now, here's another thing. I'll show you this. We'll go in here. We'll take a look at this. Open Spaces, Historic Places. That is the name of the digital collections that we're in. However, if you go over here and you click on Home, it takes you to the Indiana Memory Hosted Digital Collections. This does not take you back to our website. It's one of the quirky items of our collections that the first time I did it, I was like, oh my gosh, where am I? I'm lost. I don't know where I am. These are all the collections that we host. These are all not necessarily ours. Some of them are, our lists show up in here, but this is a whole nother area. This arts and entertainment, I can tell you, is our collection. It does say Indiana State Library. This can be confusing for people if you wander off the path and get lost and see it switched back to Indiana State Library Digital Collections. So just be aware of that kind of quirkiness in our collections. Some really odd things going on. Let me close out some of these tabs. It's just the way that the system is set up. So yeah, you could very well get lost and find yourself, going down some path and you have no idea where you are. You may not, you could maybe end up in some other collection that's not even ours. Just something to keep in mind. Okay, so just some of the smaller things that we've put into the collection that I'd like to point out, just to highlight some of the things that we've been working on. We have a bunch of historic telephone directories. We've added it into this collection. We've started doing some city and county directories that aren't necessarily available other places. I've done some looking around. I'm like, wow, I'm not finding this anywhere else. So this is one of our, collections I just want to point out. We've got 107 so far. We may, continue to add more. A lot of telephone directories, city directories that, people may not be able to find elsewhere. Especially the telephone directories. A lot of these are in rough shape. And, when I was trying to get them digitized, it was just really rough on the item. And some of them were on their way of just falling apart. So I'm like, this is a great way to digitize. So this is one of our smaller collections that we've done. All of these collections, or in this collection, all of these are links to our counties. We've done this kind of format on several of our collections. This collection, the map collection, the newspaper collection. When you go to those landing pages, this is called the landing page. you can find out what we have for each county. I use this also for collections development. Henry County, for example, has a few things. We have the county histories. I will give you a heads up as one of our future projects. Those will be going away. Those are available in Internet Archive. They're available in Google Books. They're available in HathiTrust. We finally decided, you know what, these are available elsewhere. They're a nightmare to use in Content DM because they are huge, huge items. As far as pages go, these run 900 pages long because they were these massive county histories. I can't even get this one to open. Hello. There we go. And they're very just hard to use. Look at this. There's over 4,000 item hits in this, and just look how it works. It's very difficult to use. So we're actually going to be taking these out. We're not going to have them anymore in here, and we're actually going to build more items that are unique to our collection, or places that may not be able to host items. It will be a different collection. So a lot of those county histories will be going out. That's one of our future projects. So these will we'll actually have materials that focus on the county itself. Go back. Okay. I want to give a shout out to a couple of fellow colleagues here at the State Library. Leanne, who used to be the newspaper librarian, has now moved on to a different position here at the library. Now we have Dave Pleiss. He is now our new newspaper librarian. This newspaper collection is one of our newest additions. Justin Clark, who's in charge of Indiana or the Hoosier State Chronicles, put this together. It is a work in progress. This will be changing a little bit. We're going to rework this part, but we've recently added this browse by county. This is another one of those quirky collections that we have that I want to point out. Dave just did this part, went through and created links to each county that shows up in the collection. The newspaper collection is connected to Hoosier State Chronicles. So for example, when I click on Hendricks County, it will take you to this. And then when you actually open up one of these, you don't actually get the newspaper, you get a link to take you to Hoosier State Chronicles. So if I click on that, it'll take us over to Hoosier State Chronicles where we can look at the Harrison Gazette. That's not true for everything in this collection. There are some things in this collection you can only look at here. That's why I'm pointing this out. It's one of those lovely little quirky collections that we need to work on our landing page so people understand you can only look at the Worthington papers that we have here. I know somebody's from Worthington. So I went to the very last page, which is the third page. All of these ones that you kind of see in color, as opposed to the ones that were earlier were in black and white. Those that were made off of microfilm. A lot of these are made off of originals. The State Temperance Journal, for example, is one that Leanne did and added in. This paper is only right here. It is not in Hoosier State Chronicles. So bear that in mind as you're searching through this. This does not show up anyplace else but right here. Let's see. Dave has added a whole bunch of new stuff. This Worthington Times, he's been adding a bunch of those. He did the Bainbridge booster. He recently did this Rochester Sentinel. I know he's done a lot of these. A lot of the previous ones were done by Leanne when she was doing a newspaper project. Our goal is to put in a lot of our single issue newspapers or smaller runs that aren't necessarily something we have on microfilm. So this collection is really going to start growing. Ooh, this Indiana State Tribune is like, the gossip, what was that old, the Inquirer kind of thing. I don't think they publish that anymore. I think they have a lot of that on Yahoo News and stuff like that now. But a lot of this is, like here's the Republican primary that, the precinct committeeman. And then some of these, will take you to Hoosier State Chronicles, but most of these in this, when you look at them and they're in color, They're only sitting here. So it's one of our quirky little parts of our collection. I also want to, let me back out. Well, I thought it would be easier to just back out of the collection, but it's being very slow, which is all right. We'll get there. So yeah, some of these links will take you to nowhere, but once again, it's a collections development method that we'll use. Okay, I also want to give a shout out to the map collection. Monique here at the State Library is our map librarian, map curator. She was the one that originally came up with this idea of do this by county. She saw this on another website, and borrowing or stealing is the highest form of flattery when you see a good idea. So we borrowed it, and we did the same thing with ours. And the map collection was the first one we did this with. We did this list of counties, so you can go directly to your county. It's great for collections development as well. She's been adding things as she goes through and looks. We also have these suggested resources. Here's the Hicks and Sidwell plat books, county atlases, highway maps. A shout out, we recently, she got a grant to have a bunch of our large maps conserved and then digitized. So there's lots going in. She sent out an email not too long ago giving a list, and now I can't even remember what all was on the list. So many things going on. But yeah, I know that she's added a ton of maps, rare maps, that for each county. She's really working on that. So a shout out to both of them. Okay. The other quirky thing I want to show you before we run out of time. Whoops, where did it go? I just went right past it. Historic legislative documents. We have gotten to a point where some of our larger items are just so large that they're just unwheeling in Content DM. We are fortunate that we can now upload items into Internet Archive. So we have been adding some of our larger items into Internet Archive and taking them out of here, making more space for us to add more materials in our collections. We do not have unlimited space on Content DM. It is limited. So we really think things through, and it's like, hey, why don't we take the Indiana Acts, the Indiana House Journals, and the Senate Journals out, link them to the ones that are in Internet Archive, and that will save us a bunch of space. So when you go to, let's say, the Indiana Acts and Laws, which is one that I worked on, it used to be you could come here and take a look at the books. Now they are gone. You'll see these icons. There's one that says Indiana Acts. There's one that says Indiana House Journals, one that says Indiana Senate Journals. And when you click on this one, for example, here is the link. You don't see the book. It is a link that will take you to Internet Archive. So if it does this weird thing, I'll tell you about that in a moment. So we now have a lot of presence for the Indiana State Library on Internet Archive, especially the larger items. Anything 100-page or more will probably be adding here. Documentary journals are here, the acts. You can sort this by title, the date published. You've got a different view. You can do this view. You can do this view. Personally, I like this view because you get a lot of information. You can do it this way. So yeah, these are all things that we've digitized and put in here. We've done some county histories that we didn't find anywhere else. So they're sitting here. So if you go in the county history collection in the Indiana Historic Print Collection, you'll see an icon where there's a link that will take you to these. Far more easier to use in here than in Content DM. Let me just go back to that one that came up because it does really something odd. When we digitize, we do both pages If it's a certain size, we do both pages so you can see both pages. So then when we upload it into content or into Internet Archive, it does this weird kind of 4 pages at once. If you're a student or you're really doing some research in the Indiana Acts, they might like it. It may be easier to look at it this way than you can scroll it down like you're looking at a regular book. That really threw me for a loop. Everybody was like, "What's going on there?" And then we all kind of, came to agreement that, if you really are doing some research in the Acts, it might be, easy to see all 4 pages at once. Who knows? But you can do the one page. So yeah, this is all new. This is kind of recently, within the past year and a half, we've started adding materials into Internet Archive. Believe me, they're far easier to use than trying to search them in Content DM. So yeah, our larger items will be going in here. Okay. Just a few words on some of our future projects. One of the things, arts and entertainment and the Indiana authors collections are going to merge together at some point in time. This poor little collection of Indiana authors and their works, we just do not have a lot of stuff to add in there, and I recommended that we merge the two together. It just kind of made sense to call it arts and entertainment and literature. OCLC can do that on their end. We have very little work to do on our end. We just, send them a message, email, say, hey, would you merge these two collections? And they will do that for us. And that opens up a new collection. Sometime in the near future, this is kind of where we get into long-term thinking, the Civilian Conservation Corps, which is a collection of newsletters from all the various camps that were around Indiana in the 1930s with the CCC. We're going to be changing that to include materials about the 1930s and all the work that was done with the Great Depression, etc. So a lot of that is going to be, changing there. We'll be adding and broadening some of those collections. We'll also probably add a World War II collection sometime in the near future. In the next 5 or 6 years, we'll add that as well. For each year, I usually choose a topic. This year it was education, and I did a little focus on our education collection to add more materials in there. You can see that this landing page is not very big, so we go with things like the suggested topics. I'll add some more stuff on there. This student newspaper and periodicals collection is going to grow because we've got a bunch of those that we're getting ready to add. I'm trying to think what else we've got coming down the line. More county histories will be going in, not the big ones, the smaller things. So just lots of things going on with our digital collections. So anyway, okay, I feel like I've just talked 90 miles an hour. Looks like there's some things in the chat. Let me see what we've got going on here. Let me scroll up and see. Andrea from Worthington. Hey, we pointed out some pics there. Any suggestions on selecting what to digitize? I have many family photos of red skeleton baby photos. Do I do all? Well, it depends on how much money you have. If you have got the money to do it, if you've got the web space to do it, you might do some selective. You can go either way. I recommend probably doing a few to start out and see how much you get used. It might, if you have a website to host on, then that might be a good way. If you don't, there's always an LSTA grant. Talk to Justin Clark here at the State Library. They might be willing to host if you don't have server space to do it. You can get an LSTA grant. Red Skeleton's very popular, even still to now. So that's kind of my thoughts on there. It's not a great answer. It all kind of boils down to what you want your mission to be. Like I said, with me, I like to curate a collection. I don't just do a hodgepodge of stuff. So maybe you want to curate it, pick out the best 50, or if it's really big, you've got like 200 photos, maybe you just pick out the best 50 look for duplicates. It's like, well, these are both kind of the same, so we'll pick one or the other. Kind of helps you narrow down your collection. So are there any other questions? Feel free to put them in the chat box. If I don't, if we run out of time, if I don't get your question, you can always email me. You can find me on the website and send me an email. Like I said, I feel like I just talked 90 miles an hour. I hope you got something out of all of this. Anything else? Any other questions? We've got a few minutes. Dead quiet. Maybe everybody left.
There was a question about the county histories.
Okay, did I miss that?
Yeah, I think Monique kind of answered it, but Brianna said, when you remove the county histories, will you link the titles to the other collections where they reside?
Okay. The county histories, we will probably not add a link, but I will tell you this. Let's go to that collection. And I want to see, I thought of this earlier as I was saying that. I'm like, oh, we should look and see. Let's see if it's here. There is not a link. Monique, our librarian here at the State Library, she maintains on our website, let's see if we can find it really quick, under our collections and services. Somebody should really do a webinar on our collections and services page. There's a lot going on here. Indiana Collections, if you go on this site, there's this county history guide. She does a great job in maintaining this. So for example, Bartholomew County, this I use sometimes to see, and she also makes recommendations, but you will find the links here. What I need to do is add a link to this collection or this county history holdings guide. She maintains where, this, and then you can see she's got it online. So when you click on that, it'll take you, for example, here, this one takes you to Google Books. Let's see where this one takes us. It doesn't say where it takes us, but this one takes you to Internet Archive. She puts a lot of work into that. So this is something I need to add on there. So when those come out, we'll have a notice on there that says, hey, here's a list of the counties with the county histories. Here's what we've got in the collection, but also here's what we know is online. A lot of these, the Library of Congress has done some, Internet Archive has a bunch of them. They're so much easier to use on here than in our digital collections. So oftentimes we don't even use the ones in our digital collections. We go to Internet Archive, or I go to this list and look for them. Of course, here at the library, we have them in book form. Sometimes I just go to the book if it's a repro, or even sometimes the originals. It's just far more easier than in our digital collections. So yeah, that is something we're going to take them out. It frees up space. And then what I can do is I can go into our collection and find all those little town histories from the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s that have never been digitized. They're kind of lost to the local historical society where you may not know about them. So we can, digitize a bunch of that kind of stuff, and a lot of our other rare stuff that, for places that may not have a county history or a county historian who may not know about those. So it'll free up space. These do take up a lot of space in our content DM, and I'd rather use it to have, a lot of smaller items that fill in. These I think ended in the 19 teens, and then you've got that huge gap from the 19 teens up in the 20s, 30s, 40s, up into the 70s. In the 70s, I think there were a lot, kind of a resurgence of county histories. And I just think it would be better to take these out and put in stuff that would fill in that gap, that more recent history, stuff that's out of copyright that I feel comfortable doing. And I've done that a lot in in this print collection. I'm trying to think of one of the counties. I think Adams County is one that I recently filled out. This burned witness, you know, a lot of these souvenir editions, the supplements, you know, here's like the 1936 Decatur Centennial. Here's Burns Review in 1952. Kind of looked at the copyright. I'm like, I think we'd be safe doing these. So it fills in a huge gap of history from the county, the early county histories up to the 1970s when they did another round of county histories. Rush County is one I've got laid out at the moment. I'm trying to think of one of the other counties I've recently done. Monroe County, I did a bunch of stuff for their Bloomington. Here's the, you know, directories. Here's, you know, a thing about Channel 4 out of Bloomington. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Howard County, I know I filled it out a little bit more with a lot of stuff that kind of fills in the gap of that history. So hopefully that will, you know, people will find that helpful. So anything else? I think not.
I don't see anything in the chat right now.
Okay. Well, hopefully I
Over.
didn't, you know, cause them to all fall asleep.
Oh, everybody's still here, so that's
Okay,
good.
great. Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I don't know how many people we had today, so I hope it, you know, I hope you get something out of it. It gives you some ideas. You know, obviously I didn't even get to everything on each of the, you know, like we didn't even talk about the subject, the authors, all these other various searching, you know, your basic, you know, basic searching strategies in any digital collections in Content DM. So hopefully it helped.
I think it did. Everybody's saying thank you in the chat. And I also want to thank you for presenting today. This has been very good to get caught up on where we're at right now. And I've learned a lot today, and I'm sure everyone else has.
Awesome. Good.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
And Chris will be sending out, or one of us, or both of us will send out certificates. So don't worry about that part. We'll get that to you.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.